Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to grecochess, a YouTube channel of chess. I'm your host. My name is Karilas Aniziris, and we continue facing the chess.com bots. And let's see where we're now. If you see the previous videos, you know that we started with the beginner bots, and after we were able to defeat all of them, and in fact the beginner bots quite easily, we went to the intermediate. Here we had some problems, but eventually we were able to defeat all of them. In fact, each of them twice, once when I was having the white and once when I was having the black. And we continue now with the advanced. There were 15 beginner, 15 intermediate, but now there are 20 advanced. Out of these 20, we've been able to defeat 9 of them twice, once with white and once with black, and then we went for bot number 10, Lorenzo from Italy with a rating of 1800, the first of the three 1800 rated bots. We defeated Lorenzo with the white pieces, but on the fifth attempt after suffering 4 losses. And that was when we had the white. Now let's see, can we do anything better when Lorenzo has the white and I have the black? Hence, we'll have lots of fun together, whether I win or I lose. I'll try a reasonable amount of time to see if I can defeat Lorenzo and continue to the next one. And Lorenzo starts as last time. He says, Ciao, which is the Italian greeting. I've always wanted to be a king. Well, let's see what is going to happen to your king and my king, Mr. Lorenzo. And Lorenzo play and you start with the e-pawn. And I'm playing my French defense pawn to e6. Continue pawn to d5, this turn away, that one starts a French. Knight to c3, here white has quite a lot of options. Knight can go to c3, to d2, or maybe bishop to d3, or even exchange pawns, or move the pawn to e5. And I'm going to replay with this way a little bit symmetric. My knight goes to f6. Pawn goes to e5, attacks my knight, so my knight will go to d7. Till now it's theory as far as I know. We'll see it later in the review how theory it is. A pawn to f4, which would open the diagonal for my queen to go to h4 and check. But in this case, pawn to g3 and my queen has to retreat. And then bishop is ready to fianchetto go to g. Let's do it once again. If this happens and queen goes back, let's say to e7. And then the bishop can go to g2 and white has guaranteed the long diagonal. And that's not what I want. Instead, I'm going to push my pawn to c5 to get some space. Knight to f3 and my knight will go to c6. We are developing our pieces and fighting for the d4 square. Bishop goes to e3, attacks d4, and my queen will go to b6, also exerting pressure on d4. Knight goes to a4. What can I do? One idea is to check, but if I check from b4, then pawn goes to c3 and my king is in danger. I'm going to check from a5. So if pawn goes to c3, if pawn goes to b4, I grab it. If pawn goes to c3, at least my queen is not in danger. And let's start exchanging now to see who can exchange the best. My queen is in danger, but my queen will go back. Unless, can I take with the knight pawn and then queen takes, but then, no, that will not give me anything. Queen back to c7. I'm +1 now, but knight takes on d4. My knight will take the knight. Bishop has to take back, otherwise I'm winning the pawn. What can I do? Let's develop not my knight is already developed, but let's send it to b6. What is going to happen? If there are exchanges, I think I'll double my b-pawns, but I'll have a nice check from c3 perhaps. Okay. No, the bishop cannot take on b6, but double my pawns, which I don't like. don't like the pawn coming towards me, but I'm going to open because white king is necessary, but so is my king. Queen goes here. Can I attack the bishop? And then my queen goes to d5, but I win the bishop. If bishop decides, bishop has to go back somewhere. No, bishop does not go back. Oh, yes, I cannot take the bishop because of a pin. Then my queen is in danger. And look what's happening here. If I take the bishop, I lose my queen. Can I? If I put my queen on e7, oh, then I'm going to lose a pawn on b6. If I send my bishop to d6, then I lose a pawn on g7. And there's a danger of me losing my pawn on e5. What can I do? Don't want to lose a pawn. I don't want to lose this pawn. No, I'm not going to lose the pawn here because the queen supports it. So I'm going to send my bishop to d6. And let's see what's going to happen. Nice. Oh, now there is another pin towards my king. What can I do? If I push my pawn to f4, queen can only go to e2. But what if I castle? Because if I castle, there's no pin any longer and my rook joins attack. Bishop takes a pawn on here. And where should I take my queen? I lost a pawn, but the pawn doesn't mean too much. I wish I could take the c3 pawn. What happens if I attack the queen? Takes my queen, takes the queen, takes my bishop. No. Let me send my queen to e7, facing the enemy queen. I wish really. I win a pawn on e2. I wish I could pin the queen, put a bishop, for example, here or especially here. But let's win the pawn on e2. Any danger? Not that I can see. Maybe there is, but I can't see it. That's what I'm saying. Rook goes to d5. What happens if rook checks from a1? You can go to many squares. Now, can I attack the bishop? If my bishop from c8 goes to e6, I wish my bishop could fly from d6 to f4. Then I win the enemy queen because of a pin. But let's develop the bishop sending to e6. So Lorenzo wants to exchange rooks. Anything I can do? If we exchange rooks, the pawn might end up in a5 and is going towards promotion. Not that I like this thing. You can even leave the rook because the bishop defends it. What happens if I threaten the queen by sending the pawn to f4? Queen can go to many squares, for example here, but here it's going to be threatened by my bishop. Let's threaten the queen. Let's see where the queen will go. Let's threaten it once again. Bishop is in. Oh, but then I lose if I've sent it here because the rook was defending the. So the bishop was defending the rook. If I go here, queen takes. I take. Rook takes. Let's see once again. I'm not yet very good with these orange arrows. Bishop takes. Queen takes. Rook takes. And rook takes. So I want the queen for a rook plus a bishop. But if queen goes away, then I can check from c2. Any chance for a check? Oh, that is dangerous. If bishop goes here, queen could go here with a check. Then I answer with my bishop. Go back and forth. Anything else that can happen? Let's try. Bishop attacks queen. Let's see how white replies. Yes, I want the queen for a bishop and a knight. And I'm plus 3 material. Will this be good for me? Let's see how good will it be. Let me attack the bishop, taking as much space as possible. Bishop can check from c4 and so what? If that's what white wants to do, yes. King goes to... I just have to be careful, no back rank stories. Continue pushing the pawn as far as possible. Let's go near promotion as much as we can. This cannot go here because attacked twice, both by the bishop and by the rook. So if I go here, I lose the pawn. What if I attack the bishop by sending my rook on c8? Where can the bishop go? No, but the problem is if it goes, I have back rank issues. Let's see if I can solve the back rank by how. If I send my queen here, no. Let's push a pawn to avoid the back rank, or at least minimize. I said minimize because if bishop goes this diagonal, I facing exactly the same problem. Yeah, we attack the rook. We can, but then rook may attack my queen can be under attack. Exactly, that's what I was afraid. Queen goes back. Now my rook is safe. How safe is it? If I take the pawn on c3, the problem is, okay, I take back. Otherwise, how can I save my rook? My rook has to go to f5 to be safe. But then my queen. Oh, I might be in danger later. The problem is that my queen could be pinned if I'm not careful. Bishop can go here. Okay, let's take the pawn on c3. See what's going to happen. Yes, exactly. Now I'm going to do a Zwischenzug intermediate move with a check. So it's not just a check, but the rook on d1 cannot participate in the game. Yes? Now win the bishop, and after I win the bishop, I'm ahead by +2. But any chance that Lorenzo can place his rook on a8 and pin my queen? Not that I can see. Let's check from here from d6. It's even doing better, but no guarantee. That doesn't mean too much. The bishop is pinned. I just wish I could check Lorenzo. Okay, here I send my pawn to g5 and avoid the possibility of a check that it could be checkmate from a8. I win the pawn here on b4. I also safeguard the pawn here, but what can Lorenzo do? Check from a8. Fortunately, my king can go to g7. I'm checking. Don't even have to worry about Lorenzo's check. It checks many times, hoping I can get what's called a fork. If I can attack simultaneously. For example, if I go to d4, I attack simultaneously the rook and the bishop. Now the rook can go to a8 and check and get out of there. No follow-up, but then the bishop can follow. But let's do it, because once I'm clear of the checks, I can check from here. After that, he'll go to d8 to safeguard the... I cannot even do that, because my queen will take it. Let's attack both bishop and rook. With Lorenzo... Oh, he found another way to save it. I'm going to... I wish this check was a fork, but it's not, because the rook is just one square off. The king will go to g7. Let's approach now. If I check from here, my king is in dark square. I don't have to worry about the bishop doing suddenly a discover check. Check. King goes here. Pawn, pawn. Let's do the check. Win the pawn. And one of my pawns is near promotion, but I have to make sure. Okay. I wish there was a way to check at the same time rook and king. The king is in the light square. So if I could go, for example, to b4, that would be wonderful. Let's check from e6, because if king goes to h5, that would be mate. Check from here. Check from here. Hopefully, eventually we'll win the rook, if I'm lucky enough. Now I'm threatening simultaneously bishop and rook. Will it pay off? I doubt. There are many ways that Lorenzo can escape. Mm, yes, but the rook can go to e4 and escape. Let me check from d1. Can I check from f1 and I also attack the bishop? Because king will go to g4. But what if I check from here, from h5? Oh, king will take the pawn, but I win the bishop. What else can the king, what other defenses does white have? I don't think too many. No matter where it goes, I win the bishop. Unfortunately, that is not the case. I thought so, but no luck. Fortunately, I only lost a pawn. And let's try to win the pawn on g3 if possible. You know what's happening. If I go here, check, and I lost a queen. If I win the pawn on g3, rook goes from here, check, and it will be bishop versus pawn. At least I have a draw. Can I win it? I doubt. My pawn is too far away. If I take the pawn, rook goes here, check. I win the rook, bishop takes it. My pawn will start advancing, but the rook has two more squares to win it. Any chance I can start advancing my pawn? How far I can advance my pawn? The bishop is blocking the rook from taking my pawn. See how far my pawn can go. Can my pawn get promoted? My pawn will go to g2. Of course, cannot yet go to g1, to b2 because of the bishop. I can even, can I sacrifice my queen for the rook? Can I have a queen? Queen versus pawn and rook. How easy it is to win. Let's do it. Check. And now instead of the queen facing bishop, rook and pawn, faces only rook and pawn. It's going to be a long game. And no guarantee of win, especially when you face a computer. White will try to do what's called a fortress. Which dangerous, no, but let's make sure no skewer. Again, with the pawn as first installment. If I can win the pawn. What if I force the king to be between g1 and h1? And then, yes, let's isolate the white king in the corner between g1 and h1. And see then if we can have not easy at all. Cannot put my king here because there's going to be a pin. My queen will be pinned. The queen here on g4. We got a pawn, good. Now it's queen versus rook. And now hopefully we'll have the, exactly here, the fork. And now let's hope no stalemate, but we are very near winning. And believe it or not, this time, the first time we defeated Lorenzo, it took us 81 moves. That is wonderful. It's wonderful because with white pieces, we needed 5 attempts, 4 losses, and then a win. Now with black pieces, we defeated Lorenzo the first time. It was not easy at all. Let's give a look at the review. What does the computer have to say about this game? Going back and forth, I had one brilliant move. I wonder which one. 2 versus 1, great for me. Book 10 versus 9 for Lorenzo, meaning we did a lot of theory. Best 33 versus 30 for me. Excellent 15 versus 12 for Lorenzo. Good 11 each. Inaccuracies 4 for me, 3 for Lorenzo. Mistakes 8 for Lorenzo, 6 for me. 3 misses for me and 2 blunders for Lorenzo. And we played as if my rating was 1900. I didn't mention at the beginning, but just let me tell you, Lorenzo supposedly has a rating of 1800. That's what you'll see here. 1800 is his nominal rating, and my rating, United States Chess Federation 1656. Uh, my blitz is 1800, my bullet 1500, and my rapid is in the 1830s. I'm trying to make it 1900. 1900 for me, as if I played, and anything else to see. It seems that for quite some time I was doing very well, and then it came equal, and then I got the win again. Now let's see move my move. Since I did it the first time, we have some time to go through that. Theory, everything until now. Let's see when did we deviate from theory. Till now, everything is control of d4 and everything is theory. Knight theory, yes. We as queen checks from a5. I know it might seem, why not from b4? But then what happens? Pawn will go to c3 either way or other. But if queen is in b4, then queen is attacked by the pawn. You don't like that. And not only that, has very few squares to go. But now, if it's attacked by c3, queen is not attacked. It's not attacked by c3. It is the check is blocked, and white must do this because otherwise they lose the knight on a4. Here I take, and this is theory. And now it seems I deviate from theory. Move number 10. What did I do? What is the best? And this is the best, although it is not theory any longer. You see the star. I played my best move. Let's continue. The best for Lorenzo, for me, not necessarily the best, but excellent move. The best could have been pawn to a6. Perhaps to block the bishop from going to b5. So to d4 the best. Mistake for me, and now I am down. By how much? 1.64. Here you'll see how down I am. Yes. Until now, it was more or less even. I was done by 0.8, but that's not too much. The best for me. That was a mistake, says the computer. I take it at my best. And that was a blunder. And I do my best by taking the pawn. I have plus 2 pawns until now, and after 15 moves I'm ahead by 1.75. See how game continues. We do f3, yes, quite a nice one, although computer would prefer bishop to b5 for check. You mistake. I should have developed the bishop. Queen, mistake, but when this happened, you remember I was very scared. Because I couldn't take the bishop because of this pin. My pawn was under attack. I had to find some way to defend it. I was scared to put my bishop there because I might lose a pawn on g7 until I realized that that's not the case because my queen will take back the queen. So finally placed on d6, the best move. Queen to e3, just a good one. Again, computer wants the bishop from f1 to go to f5 for check. Castling, just a good one. Here, yes. Queen that play the best. King side, excuse me, queen side castling, long castling, not good, says the computer, and perhaps rightly so because the white king is very exposed. Castling is good if it helps the king become safer, but doesn't seem the king to be too safe there. No pawn on b2, no pawn on c2, no pawn on d2. Rook to a2, I got a pawn. 20 moves have finished, I'm ahead by 3.8. Let's see what's going to happen. Rook here. Bishop, yes, the best move, I'm attacking the rook. Rook goes here the best. Not very good to take the queen, and not good reply from the queen. Would better go to e4. Not very good with this bishop. Takes e2. Now I win the queen. And now really I am quite ahead because white has no queen. Yes, I have an extra rook and a bishop, but pawn-wise I also have an extra pawn. Not very good. I'm trying to get as much space as possible, threatening with promotion, not because I believe I'll promote, but in order to force white to give up some material to avoid my promotion. Check, my king goes yes. Look, pawn to e3, yes. And give love to my king, although computer would rather have me take the pawn before, because after pawn takes back, queen takes on before and attacks simultaneously both bishops. And I should win at least one of them. Bishop to c5, a great move for Lorenzo. And my queen to d8, goes to e8, a mistake. So I'm still ahead, but only 2.05 after 30 moves. And this is brilliant. Computer says that my taking the pawn on c3 is brilliant. Why? I get a pawn. Do I sacrifice the material? Yes, I ignore the threat to my rook. But where can the rook go? Think about it. If I give top priority to my rook, it cannot go here because of this bishop. It cannot go here. No, here it could go. It could also go here. Here perhaps the bishop can come back, but here it should be safe. But I don't know if by mistake or on purpose, I hit the pawn on c3 and computer says brilliant. Wonderful, have a brilliant move. And I lose the rook. Check now, of course, the Zwickenshoek, the intermediate move. And now take the bishop. Rook to a4. And queen to d6 check. So we finished 35 moves, and what's the score? I'm ahead by 3.85. Bishop goes back to d3, yes. And now I'm trying to attack pawn to g5. One advantage of this is that rook to a8 is not so scaring any longer. Think about it. If I played, for example, my pawn to b5, then rook goes to a8, and the only defense I have is queen goes to b8 or f8, and then it's mate. I'm so near being checkmated, but that's why I push the pawn to g5, and of course it's the best. Nice, definitely the right move, says the computer. Rook attacks my pawn, queen takes the pawn on b4, and now I have queen and 4 pawns versus rook, bishop, and 2 pawns. A +3 material advantage, as you see here. But the problem is when the game goes too long, the computer will rarely do a mistake, but human is too easy to make mistakes. Yes, centralizing the king. 40 moves have passed. I'm ahead by 5.26. It's very rare for the computer to make what's called unforced error, unprovoked, to give me the chance to win material. But for human, if the game drags for too long, it's much more possible. 3. Check, yes. Win the pawn. I'm trying now to have a double attack. Attack the king and one of bishop or rook to win one of them, or perhaps attack rook and bishop and them not being able to cover each other. With the king, it's much easier. Finish 45 moves. I'm ahead by 3.98, a little bit less than before. Trying as many check as possible, trying to achieve it. And before move number 50, 51, after 50 moves, I'm ahead by 5.17. It seems things are going my way, but if you look here, you'll see things will not go my way always. That was a mistake, because I really thought that I would win the bishop if king took h5. Instead, king took g5. Ouch, you left your pawn hanging. So now I just lost a pawn. Another mistake. Another mistake. And I'm almost even. Look, I'm only ahead by 0.67. Is there a way to use table base? We'll use later on to see what happened. Now see if I can promote. Great. Past pawns must be pushed. I had enough of trying this, folks. Yes, that was great. That was a mistake of the computer because the pawn would not go to the fourth rank under regular conditions, but when the bishop is blocking the rook, my pawn can safely go to the fourth rank. Pawn continues to the third rank. But let's see, after 55 moves, the score after 55, I'm ahead by 1.4, not too much. Want to be 2. Not a good idea. Computer wants my queen to go to g1. And now inaccuracy, but I was hoping that if I could get rid of the bishop and I promoted the queen, I would have a very good chance. But computer thinks I'm ahead by only 0.07 of 59 moves. And after 60 moves, I'm ahead by only 0.17, meaning after 60 moves, the computer thinks it's even. And this is very tough for me because bots will rarely do mistakes. Humans are much easier to make mistakes. But you remember what happened? Let's see, what did the game change? The game is start change here when the king goes to h3. It has become extremely small. It is, at most times it was less than 0.1. Let's see, after 65 moves of the score, after 65 moves, I'm ahead by only 0.18. That was a big mistake that um, gives him advantage of 4.5, but I missed the queen. Queen should have gone to h3 instead of g5. And I'm back with a very small advantage of 0.12. After 70 moves, my advantage is only 0.04. The game is even. Who would believe that in 10 moves from now, I would win it? Or 11 to be exact. 72 moves, I'm ahead by only 0.14. And this computer is a blunder. I'm ahead by 2.5. And now really I take advantage. Miss, I should have gone to the other square. And now it's mate in 9 moves. Mate in 8. After 75 moves, suddenly I have mate in 8 moves, then I will only need 6 finally. 7, 6, 5, 3, 2, 1. And that's it. And God, we won. Let's see if it is possible to go to table base. Yeah, we go here to table base. Is the table base or not? Let's go to table base. Here we are. We'll go how to analysis. We'll go to table base when there are 7 pieces remaining. And where do we have the 7 pieces? Let's send this to the other corner. We have here how many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There is table base. Let's see where do we start the table base. Is it here? Not yet. Here we are. After king goes to h5, here we have table base. This is move number 54. And we'll see now the back and forth table base. Computer thinks a draw. Black wins here. We have black wins. Draw suddenly when my pawn goes to g2. Let's go. When my pawn was in g3, uh, I win, but only if my queen goes to g1, nowhere else. I push the pawn as you're supposed to do most of the times, and now it's suddenly a draw. And let's see where the game is going to change. Game changed when king went to h3. From draw, now I win. Again draw, I missed a chance. A few more draws. No, I'm winning. Where am I winning? I'm winning when the king went to g1. Move number 69. Am I winning now? Ah, I missed a chance. It's a draw. And I'm winning when? Only at move 73, when rook went to f5. Am I winning all the way? Let's see. Yes, so what happened is that at least it was only a 2 result game, meaning there was no uh, time that Lorenzo was ahead. Most of the time it was either draw or I would win. And fortunately, I ended up being the winner. And we concluded, yes, it's wonderful. After what we went through with, when I had the white pieces that I had 4 devastating losses. Now I'm glad that on my first attempt with the black pieces, I defeated Lorenzo. So overall, of course, Lorenzo has 4 wins and 2 losses, but we eliminated Lorenzo. And the next port is Wally from Scotland, another 1800 port. But that's it for now, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching. Thanks to the viewers, the subscribers, the comments, and the likes. If you have faced bots, you may want to share with us in the comments what was your experience. How far were you able to go? Any bots that surprised you? We completed 10 out of 20 advanced bots. While in the next one, let's see what we can do there. But for now, goodbye, Lorenzo. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, thanks everybody. Thanks to everybody and goodbye.